We'll do that afterwards?
Oh, we'll do this after?
I think so. What do you think?
Well,
Oops.
I mean, I was going to introduce our new title graphics, but
Oh, no.
if you think the title graphics aren't ready yet, then that's fine. Actually, the title graphics for our other show, which is the Brisket Babysitting Club. Well, we're going to do these as two separate things?
I think so.
Okay.
Because then we can post the Brisket Babysitting Club with the brisket videos.
Very good. So I'm going to start by washing hands.
Wash your hands.
Full 20 seconds worth. All the washing of all the hands.
I'll be there in a second.
Thank you. You're going to be here in a second. So this is episode number 5?
What are we looking at?
Are we 5 at this point?
3, 4. This is 5.
So we started with chopped liver. Elinor's chopped beef liver, my mom. We did matzah. We did kishke. We did... chopped liver, matzah, kishke. Brisket curing. That was the other thing that we did. So the Brisket Babysitting Club will meet following this cooking demo. We will introduce. We'll introduce day 2 of the Brisket Babysitting Club. Today's episode is chicken fricazee, and chicken fricazee is an Elinor Kaplan, that is my mom, signature dish. So much so that I called my mom this morning in Toronto.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. That's Willa, as you know, started the show. So Elinor and Wilf, my parents, are doing well. They are out of their 14-day quarantine from returning from Mexico. And until they took a call from our cousins in Los Angeles, the conversation was going very well this morning. I got my mother's full fricassee recipe. And what I'm going to show you today is not exactly Elinor's fricassee. We're going to leave her secret recipe a secret. I'm going to show you a variation on this recipe, which is more sort of up my alley as a guy who loves his food. And to sort of bring all the pieces together for you, Willa and I had scheduled to do a full public Seder, the way that we used to do in the deli on College Street for all those years, here in Tofino, BC, which is our new hometown. Willa was born here. I'm the new guy in town. And we thought, what a great thing to do, to put on a public Seder here in our new home.
Of course.
Until this dude showed up, well, COVID-19, thank you very much.
That's
ruined our plans for a public Seder. But, my wife has an indomitable spirit. And she said, we don't have to just deal with this lying down. We can actually get up and show those people how to make a proper Seder. We have our haggadahs. We have our chopped liver. We have our brisket. We have our lamb. We can do this. We can make stuff. So we're making stuff. And this is day 5 of making stuff. And as I say, today is chicken fricassee. One of the essential ingredients in our chicken fricassee is kishke. Should we show them what we did yesterday?
Ooh, yes.
So you'll remember from our matzah demo, where we made our own matzahs. It's in the blue underneath the beef.
Underneath the beef.
And so in our oven, we have a lava stone that we baked our matzot on to make the matzah meal. And then the matzah meal was going to be an important part of the kishke. This is an unstuffed kishke. So we rolled this in tin foil. We put it into the oven. We forgot the paprika.
I don't even know.
So shanda.
So this is our finished. We've been nibbling at the edges of it.
Yes, it's frickin' licious.
It is.
It is unbelievably good to eat. It doesn't have all of the challenges of stuffing it inside of a sausage. I know the sausage casings add flavor, add texture, and they're wonderful.
Well, and they do keep the kishke from completely disintegrating when it goes into the fricassee.
Right. So my mother told us that she puts her she puts her kishke in her fricassee an hour before she serves it, and some of the fricassee dissolves off the ends of the pieces, and that's what helps to thicken her stew. Ours, we're going to put the kishke directly in to help thicken, and then we're going to leave a solid piece for each bowl when we actually serve it. So it'll have
Yeah.
kishke as a thickener, as well as kishke as a star of the show, and it's going to be amazing. So,
And because kishke is like what's the term for the staple base of the soup? It's like there's like a term for it, right?
staple base of the soup.
Like, because celery, carrots, onion are all
Mirepoix?
like. Thank you.
That's
see?
what you're looking for, mirepoix?
I was looking for mirepoix. They'll make anything taste good.
Yes. So we ground up in our kishke carrots, celery, and onions.
Mm-hmm.
In this fricazee recipe, we're not putting any carrots in. These are little onion ends that are going to go into our into our soup stock scrap bowl. We have our some diced celery, some diced onions. I'm going to finish dicing this onion. Simply split the onion in half, cut, and then when you finish the cutting process, you end up with a really nice dice. Like most people who work with food, I really don't like to waste as much as possible. And
did you set a timer for the coffee?
I didn't, but it's ready to press now for sure. We made a pot of coffee just as we were going to air. Also, Willa,
Yes.
we can use some of these onions if we wish for the meatballs that we're going to make.
Oh, good plan.
And so we can divide our onion mixture between meatballs and
Great plan.
sorry, onions between meatballs and the fricassee itself.
Yeah.
So I've just turned the heat on of our big pot for the that the onions will saute in. We're not going to use all these onions, as I say. We reserve some for our meatballs. Chicken fricassee in our house. So first of all, whenever I cut garlic, you'll always see me putting on a generous amount of usually kosher salt. Kosher salt absorbs the oil in the garlic, and so instead of ending up on my knife or on my cutting board, the kosher salt will absorb all of that garlic oil, and that's of course incredible flavor.
Can I get you to move the cutting board over just a little bit so that Instagram, no, other way, so that Instagram can see?
Hello, Instagram. Is that better?
That's better. Thank you.
Bring my salt back here. So we're really learning how to do this, how to create a little cooking demo for you. We've been doing this, as I say, for the last 5 days. And I can't possibly imagine that this would have happened without the direct influence of my wife, Willa Bradshaw. It's just so much fun to do these things with you, Willa.
Thank you. Sorry, we lost our Instagram live, so I'm getting us back up.
So we're using our Feast to Fino Instagram account for the Instagram lives, and we're using my personal Facebook account for the Facebook demos that we're doing. And then once the videos get made, we're uploading them to our website, which is kaplanskis.com, and hosting them on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we are, and on our website.
And that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
YouTube and our website.
Perfect. Thanks.
kaplanskis.com. So that's a pretty good dice on our garlic. And again, we could put some of this garlic directly in with the meatballs if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
They're all going to go to the same place. So in this recipe,
Our tummies.
exactly. In this recipe, we actually simmer the meatballs to cook them in the tomato sauce itself. And so the meatballs will help to flavor the tomato sauce along with what you see here. This is some cooked chicken wings and chicken thighs that I roasted in our oven the other day to try and render as much of the schmaltz or chicken fat from them as I could that we used yesterday in our kishke. And so at this point, this is cooked meat, so it won't flavor the sauce the same way that the raw beef will, but will add a really lovely flavor to the fricassee. Growing up, my mother would always use chicken necks, chicken giblets, pippics, and all of the other pieces of the chicken that aren't usually made for for prime time consumption. And
yeah, it's kind of too bad that we couldn't get any giblets, but usually get them with turkeys that we stuffed inside in that little like papery bag. And you can just stick those right back in the freezer.
yeah,
And
great
pull
idea.
them out. Usually we have a chicken neck or two or a turkey neck kicking around
Yep.
if we haven't already put them in a soup.
Yeah, that's what we typically, whenever we have a chicken or a turkey or any kind of protein, we'll use the bones and the leftovers and simmer it into a stock. And so often we'll use those chicken necks or turkey necks in that way. Our freezers are full of fish stocks and chicken stocks and beef stocks.
We
And
kind of went overboard. We have a lot of seafood stocks cooking around right now, and we'll have to think of fancy ways of using them.
Yeah, we just made a clam chowder the other day. So our pot is pretty much heated up. I'm going to use some of our reserved bacon fat, because I love it, to simmer our onions and garlic and celery in. At the same time, why don't we use some of our matzo meal to get the meatballs going?
Sure.
We can use for this amount of beef, and it looks to me like...
So this amount of beef.
Yeah, there's probably about a pound there, a pound and a half.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably closer to a pound and a half.
We'll use 1 egg.
1 egg.
We'll use a couple of heaping tablespoons of matzo meal. I'm not a big recipe guy, so you'll have to play along. Willa will try and transcribe this as a recipe after the show.
Maybe what we'll do is I will start with.
So I will use. I diced up 3 whole onions here, and
Use 2.
I'm going to use 2 of them for the Fricazee, and I will leave Willa the other one for the meatballs. And so I would say.
So I'm going to move this chicken away so I have a workspace.
I'm not a huge fan of using too much in the way of breadcrumbs for.
I was just going to sprinkle them in, and you were going to tell me when to stop.
Perfect.
Was my plan.
Perfect.
Okay.
And we also will use our Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire?
Yeah, it would be, works really, really well with meatballs. Now remember, we've got some salt in the garlic. So we've used some there. And of course, you've seen now how the salt disappears really as it soaks up all of that beautiful garlic oil. A little Worcestershire sauce.
So I'm going to add my egg right now?
Yep. And I would say about that much.
Okay, so that was like, you probably use teaspoon-ish.
Teaspoon of Worcestershire.
Okay, I'm going to wash my hands again before I stick them in all this meat.
So I have 2 onions that I want to get to translucence in my pot on the stove. I'm then going to add the celery. And this was 2 stalks of celery.
Yummy.
And I am dropping stuff on the floor, so
you know what the rule is with the floor.
there's no 5-second on the floor
There's
rule.
no 5-second rule.
If it hits the floor, it's done. And then the cat can have it if she's so interested.
In the celery?
Which she won't be interested in.
Not so much. Not so much today, but maybe if we were, maybe some of this meat fell on the floor.
I'm going to add.
So Zane,
Yes.
are we, now that I've started mixing, I'm going to get you to add things because my hands are now really gross.
Okay.
What are you looking for?
Bay leaf.
Top shelf at the very, very back on the right hand side.
Aha, thank you.
What would you do with that?
I know, right? Right behind the paprika. And so then I'll add a little bit of the garlic to the fricassee as well. And when I say a little bit of the garlic, I mean most of the garlic.
So that's probably, how many cloves do you chop up?
Most of a head of garlic, so I would say it was probably about a dozen cloves of garlic.
So you're probably adding 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm saying this all out loud so that when I go back to write out the recipe for everyone, it's there. So,
What do you
Zane,
want me to add?
well, what do we add next? This is just meat and egg.
Okay, so let's add some breadcrumbs. And in this case, we're using matzo meal. Now, we're not making, obviously, a kosher for Passover menu. I use bacon fat in with my frying onions in the Fricazee here.
So we're not even making a kosher.
Not even making it kosher anything. I have my thoughts and feelings on kosher, and we can save those for another day. Kosher for Passover is another level of kosher in the that designation. Kosher doesn't just mean don't mix milk and meat. Kosher also refers to an entire level of supervision, packaging, and certification that I have lots of thoughts and feelings about, and I can share them with you at another time. We're also going to put in a little paprika. Now, Will and I did talk about it, but we both forgot to add any. It's quite a bit.
It's gonna be long. It's fine.
It's gonna be great. What we left out of the kishke
It's going right.
is going to the meatballs.
Exactly.
So you're gonna get your paprika hit when you eat this dish.
So Zane probably added a tablespoon of paprika. My guess is that we wanted to add a teaspoon and a half of paprika, half of the amount.
Sure, fine.
It's gonna be delicious.
It's gonna be fantastic. We bought. They had a 2-for-1 special on diced tomatoes yesterday at the co-op.
So these diced tomatoes are just plain old diced tomatoes, but there is, what's San
Marzano. If we were making a tomato sauce in the Italian style, we are pretty snobbish about our San Marzano tomatoes.
So what makes them so good though?
Well, they come from the region, a very specific region in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
They are grown in that terroir, and that's the flavor of tomato that you're looking for. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different kinds of tomatoes that exist, and San Marzano tomatoes give Italian cooking an authenticity that you can't get from just your regular co-op grade of tomatoes. Not that there's anything wrong with these, because I'm certain that they're going to make a great dish.
Do you want me to add the onions in here?
I would say yes. Add the onions.
Why don't you do that?
Okay.
Again, my hands are
Yep. I'm going
trying to keep the meat away from.
I'm going to add about half those onions because we're going to use them with the rest of the meatballs that we make as well.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably good.
That's probably good. And some garlic. Did you want garlic?
Some garlic as well. I always want garlic.
Now, do we want more salt or pepper in this right now, or
I'd say pepper.
Okay.
So maybe we'll make a test meatball and see how salty it is. We've added some Worcestershire sauce, and that's quite salty.
Have we added Worcestershire?
Yes, we did.
Oh, we did. That's right.
And there was some salt in with the garlic as well. So I don't want to over salt.
Oh, Anita Stewart.
She's
She's growing her own San Marzano.
Wow.
And she says they're not quite as rich, but they're very, very good.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So San Marzano is not only a region, it's a variety of tomato.
I love that. I love learning about that. And there's no better person that I'm going to learn from than Anita Stewart, who Order of Canada recipient, the food laureate. We were actually talking about Anita in my conversation with Josh and Maharaj when I had her on the radio show.
Yeah.
I did have Anita on my old radio show, and that was such a thrill to have her in her room and to be able to talk to her and about her on the...
Was she part of your Legend series?
She was part of the Legend series, absolutely she was. And actually that same day, she was honored by George Brown College as a national treasure in their food series. And when John Higgins introduces you as a national treasure, guess what? It's legit. And I can say whatever I want to say about people, but when it comes from Higgins, yeah. And Anita's a great friend. I was very honored when she put our mustards in her list of 50 essential Canadian ingredients.
Mustards here.
That's right.
Displayed in the wonderful handmade
Christmas gift that I received from my secret Santa, who was Matthew Skelton, a cousin of ours in Edmonton, Alberta.
That's right.
And Matthew, thank you so much. You never thought it would show up in a kishke cooking video, did you? Or Fricazee today, whatever. But here we are.
Here we are. Now, Zane,
Yes.
do you want to look at this?
Yes.
Does this look right?
This looks fabulous.
Okay, I'm going to show people.
Yeah. I'll show people because
Thank you.
Here we are.
Okay.
So this is, let's see how it, this is our meatball starter. We're going to do a double recipe of this. We're going to test one meatball to make sure that we have the seasoning right. And to do that, we're just going to break off a small piece of it. Good. It could have a little green in it. We might want to put in some oregano or thyme. Do you have any dried?
You know what? I don't think we do. So
we're just going to run with it.
in this household, we're in an interesting situation. My parents live just down the hall, and we see them every day. So we often borrow spices from them. We're those neighbors who knock on the door and say, "Can we borrow some sugar?" Because we did.
Every day. That's right. I'm going to go in with the ketchup.
Which is our sugar source for this recipe.
Right. And so we're using, we're going to make, I think, the 2 cans of tomatoes. We're going to use a whole...
I'm going to wash my hands.
Yep. A whole liter of our ketchup is going in.
Whole liter. Wow.
Whole liter of ketchup.
Do you want to show people what it looks like right now?
Yep. I've just added the second can of tomatoes. And good thinking, because it's going to get too hot too soon to show people. So this is ketchup, tomatoes, celery, onions, garlic, and that huge bay leaf that we have as well. And
oh, that's great.
yeah, there is. I'm going to put a little bit of the Worcestershire directly in the Fricazee.
Great.
We're going to go in with all of the chicken.
All of the chicken.
All the chicken's going in. Chicken's going for a swim.
Love it.
So this again was chicken wings and chicken thighs. I find that wings and thighs have wonderful, deep, awesome chicken flavor, and more so than white meat or breast, chicken breast would. And the nice thing about this recipe too is that it cooks for quite a long time. And the reason that's nice is that all the flavor is going to get cooked into the sauce. The chicken will fall off the bone. You can pull those bones out if you'd like to.
So what pan do you want to cook the?
So my mother told me that her secret recipe included Frank's hot sauce.
No, Louisiana hot sauce or sriracha.
Those two. Thank you. See, that's why I keep well around. And we have some of Ian's hot sauce in our fridge.
Ian Riddick from Heartwood Kitchen in Ucluelet makes the most amazing hot sauce.
He does indeed. And this is a great thing to use it for, I imagine. So, depending on how hot you like it, Ian's sauce is awesome and I treasure it. So I'm not going to use much more than, I would say, a tablespoon. You can always add more later on if you want to. It pours slowly, which all the good ones do. That's about a tablespoon.
Close to it, yeah. So
and this needs. My mother would have added water to hers. We could add.
Well,
a little bit of water to ours.
We could add chicken stock as well, or we could add. Do we have any cubes?
You
can see how full our freezer is. Ridiculously full.
One fun thing Willa and I like to do when we make stocks is to freeze them in ice cube trays, and that cuts down on the thawing time that you need for the chicken stock. It's also
great if you're making a smaller meal and you just want a little bit of liquid.
Yeah.
To throw in 1 or 2 cubes and then.
If you're deglazing a pan as well, an ice cube into a pan that's all stuck with beautiful cooking sauces and gravies and so on. The ice cubes will bring that to life. And in this case, I'm just gonna use them all. We can see how liquidy it's gonna make the sauce, and this sauce is gonna cook down for at least an hour. And as I said before, Willa's meatballs will cook in this sauce. Let's do one tester on the stove top, so we know what we're dealing with. Once we have the flavor that we want from Willa's meatball mixture that she made a few moments ago. So again, there's matzo meal in here. You can use breadcrumbs, you can use flour. It's strictly a binder with the 1 egg. We threw in some diced onions, some Worcestershire sauce, a little bit of salt that was with our garlic that we added, and some black pepper. Oh, and some paprika. I added too much paprika to the
okay. I'm sure it'll be. I'm sure it'll be nice.
Well.
And if we have more meat, so if we need to dilute the paprika, we can always just split the meat up.
I'm just gonna add the rest of
the ketchup.
Well, I think that we're almost where we need to be. Is the heat on with the yeah? Good, perfect.
Yeah.
So this fricassee is coming along really nicely. It's got a good couple of hours of cooking in it. As I said earlier, we're going to use the kishke that we made yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to add some to the fricassee as a thickener, and then we're going to serve pieces of the fricassee for our individual guests when we eat this at dinner time.
So we'll likely leave one log to its own and slice that, and then pour the fricassee, or place it on top of the fricassee, or pour it on top.
Exactly.
Or something. Okay.
Put a piece of kishke in the bowl, pour and then dish up the fricassee on top of that. It'll have meatballs in it. It'll have chicken in it. It'll have all that zesty goodness. And I think Ian's.
Oh, it's just probably something on the burner.
Yeah. Okay. We can make a.
Let's do it.
Let me wash my hands, and I'll make a small meatball. I guess there's going to be all kinds of like hand washing, judginess, eh? Did they leave the water on while they're washing their hands? Did they turn the water off when they wash their hands? Did they really wash their hands for 20 seconds? I looked at the clock, and it was the second hand was at the 11, so that's 20 seconds of hand washing for me.
I have been counting in my head, and sometimes I'm like the kids who count really fast. 20.
I appreciate your candor, Willa.
And sometimes I'm responsible.
So, I would look for a meatball that was about this size. So
that's a nice size. That's like an inch diameter.
An inch diameter. And I'm going to throw one of these. No, I'm not. It's not thrown yet. So I'm just going to throw this directly into the pan.
Do you want some grease?
Yeah, I'm going to throw a little bit of olive oil. And actually, I'm gonna make this half the size because it'll cook faster, so we can taste it faster.
Would it make sense for us to move the camera over to the stove?
If we have the technology to move the camera to the stove.
Well, I'm just wondering if that's.
So we have two cameras going. We've got our Facebook Live and we've got our Instagram friends as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think maybe what we'll do is move the camera because you're going to be mostly cooking at the stove from now on, right?
There's not all that much. There's not all that much left to do here.
Mm-hmm.
Once we know that we have the right seasoning on the meatballs. So we're making a couple of tester meatballs right now.
Yeah.
Once we know that our seasoning is good, we're gonna simmer the meatballs in this tomato sauce, the fricassee.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we should do is simmer them, cook them,
Yeah.
and then take them out.
Okay.
And because with the amount of meat that we have, first of all of that simmering will flavor the fricassee beautifully. Second, they would overwhelm this pot. So we have actually triple this amount of ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be able to freeze some of these meatballs And actually, now is a good time to talk about the fact that on April the 9th, in conjunction, can we say this?
Sure, sure. I don't know what we're doing, but yes, do it.
Rhino Coffee here in Tofino, BC. Willa and I are going to do a buy in advance, takeout only Passover meal featuring all the dishes that we have been showing you how to make here on.
I'm going to lift up the lid so we can see what's in the pot.
So this is the Fricazee, and you can see the ice cubes are melting, and the tomato goodness is going to start to simmer in a few minutes. We're testing out our meatball recipe to make sure that it's right. So Fricazee is a tomato-based stew with chicken wings, chicken thighs. We would use chicken giblets if we had them as well. Chicken hearts, chicken lungs, chicken livers. But we don't have those. We will have meatballs, and we have kishke. We made kishke yesterday. So the chopped liver, the kishke, we're going to make gefilte fish. We're going to show you brisket. We've shown you matzah. All of those we're going to offer through Rhino Coffee here in Tofino on April the 9th. 18 dinners only, and they'll be staggered from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So you'll go to Dwayne Bell's website when he has the menu up. I haven't even sent him the menu yet, but I expect next week it should be live. And Willa will create a graphic. We'll use something maybe similar to what we've already done for our Passover meal. And you'll be able to sign up in advance for one of our Passover dinners. The first night of Passover on the 8th, Will and I are going to do a Zoom Passover Seder with our family. I'm not sure how people are going to be able to join that yet. My Willa will figure out the logistics of how that.
All right, I'm trying not to laugh and move the camera. Yes, of course I will. I'll figure it out.
Well, Willa did a wine night with her wine friends in Toronto the other day, and I figure if they can figure out a wine night, we can figure out a Seder night. It shouldn't be that difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think these matzo balls are almost done. So what you're gonna get in the Fricazee is when all the matzo ball, when the meatballs simmer, all of these juices that they release are going to be released into the Fricazee as well. So it'll give a nice flavor to the stew, along with the chicken, along with the kishke, because the kishke is going to be a thickener in there. This is going to be such a nice dish, Willa. We're going to make chicken soup with matzo balls. We're going to make gefilte fish. What's gefilte fish?
What is gefilte fish?
What is gefilte fish? So, maybe could have left it in the pan for another few moments. This one.
Sorry,
is,
while I tilt everyone and get back so I can taste all of this. No taste. Is it? Oh, that's fine.
Yep. I think it needs more salt for sure.
Definitely needs more salt.
And we can do some.
You know what? The only salt we had was from the
Worcestershire
and a little bit from the garlic, so I'm not surprised. Well, the paprika is nice. We didn't use the hot paprika; we used the sweet paprika.
You taste the paprika?
No, I just know that that's what we bought because I bought it.
And you. Okay, so we'll give this a mix around, and we'll give it around number 2. You want to do another tester, or should we think this is going to be?
I don't know.
Well, I'll mix this one up.
Zane's gonna mix that up. I mean, everyone's kind of got the gist of like this is gonna the Fricazee is gonna cook for how much longer?
So once it comes up to a simmer, it'll cook for another hour or 2 with the lid slightly askew to let out any steam. And there's a texture that you're looking for, and so I think maybe tomorrow when we come back from the brisket babysitting club, we'll also show people, like we did today with the kishke, what the product looks like finished. This isn't one of those highly organized cooking shows where here's one we made earlier, because we didn't make these earlier. We're pretty much winging each of these recipes as we go along. Willa has to put up with somebody who doesn't actually write down recipes. That's me, and so she will endeavor to take the things that we're doing and we'll write them into a recipe.
Yep.
Well, tomorrow's episode is going to be postponed.
That's
Originally, we had done the potato kugel scheduled for tomorrow, but unfortunately, something has come up, something mysterious.
Anyways, we're not going to be around tomorrow, but I will do brisket babysitting club, probably on my own. And I will do a quick show and tell with the Fricazee. Maybe we'll even do that later today. And so unfortunately tomorrow's episode is delayed.
Yeah, we'll reschedule it because there's definitely going to be potato kugel at the Seder.
Maybe what we'll do is we'll do that Sunday after your radio show.
Good call. Good call. We can do potato kugel Sunday after the radio show. And this week's radio show, actually I'm not prepared to plug it yet. We are going to have a special caller from Colombia, from South America.
Oh.
Alvaro is a restaurant owner in Colombia, South America. My cousin Betty Jacobson met Alvaro on her travels in Cartagena. And we're going to have a check-in with a guy that I've never met in Colombia and see what his restaurant's all about. Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. Should we do another?
Let's do another test, sure. Well, is there anything else that we need to...
Any other homework or...
Homework, the only homework I believe is my homework. Writing up this recipe and getting on you about what's involved in a kugel.
Actually, so the kugel is very straightforward. The kugel recipe is kind of like a potato letka recipe, but it's not cooked in little pancakes.
Right.
It's cooked in a Dutch oven.
Okay.
And so the key with the potato kugel is to use a Dutch oven and so this is the bad batch.
Is it like the cholent that you have to like heat up your Dutch oven beforehand?
You want to work with a hot Dutch oven so that the kugel crisps on all sides. You want the base of the kugel to come away from the pan.
Because the best parts are the crispy parts. Always.
Always. So this is chicken fricassee, based on but not completely adhering to my mother's recipe. We now have a meatball that we like, and the fricassee itself is coming close to being ready. Let's just.
Oh, Phyllis suggests doing our kugel in muffin pans.
So that's actually another. My mother has done that in the past as well, using muffin tins, and actually I think we had it that way at Phyllis's house once.
I think maybe we'll do that for the pickup.
For sure. That's going to be the easiest way, for sure. And that will make sure that it's all kinds of crispiness, both on top and on the Phyllis Grossman. Thank you very much. Phyllis is a wonderful caterer in the city of Toronto. PG Catering is where we typically would get our kishke from, and many, many other things as well. She has all our wonderful cooks and great friends. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thanks for being part of this experience. Will and I are having a ton of fun. Should we just show people how to finish the meatballs before we let them go?
Yes, definitely finish off the meatballs before we sign off. I think that's a good plan.
So we're almost done with our second tester. I added some salt, some Worcestershire to the matzah, to the meatball mix.
Okay.
This has onions, garlic, matzah meal. This has salt, pepper, and
paprika.
that's it.
That's it.
So these are very simple matzah balls. They're going to get simmered and cooked.
They're not matzah balls, they're meatballs. Continue.
The meatballs are going to get cooked in the fricassee. Once we're satisfied that we've got the right consistency and flavor. And the fricassee itself will cook for another couple of hours. So it's coming up on lunchtime here on the West Coast. We will probably simmer this for a couple of hours. We'll probably do a bit of a production line this afternoon to get all the matzo ball, all the meatballs cooked.
And that's on the mind.
Well, when are we doing our matzo ball down?
We're supposed to do that Saturday.
Cool.
Matzo ball soup.
So-
It's Yitz's recipe.
Yitz's recipe. I'm going to see if I have Yitz's actual yellow card. It's a great story. I'll tell it to you on Saturday when we make this recipe.
Oh, I didn't pull it too soon. Better?
Much better. Mm.
Oh, it's really nice. I really salty that. Oh, the rest of the flavor's really good.
Too much salt? Should we add more meat to it?
No, I don't. I think it's probably just the piece that I got. It was just. I think I got a bit of garlic. And I don't know if this one's cooked all the way through. No,
That's my meatball. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Better? Oh yeah, it's just.
I think it's wonderful.
How salty is our? I'm finding it a little salty,
Huh.
but
Kaplansky added too much salt, did he? Well, there's two options.
okay. Heavy salt, over salting.
We could add more meat to the meatballs, and we could stretch out the amount of salt in it.
Yeah.
Or we could allow. Why don't we taste the fricassee and see how salty it is?
Okay.
Because the salt, through the osmotic properties that was it Sir Winston Churchill?
Don't try talking silent.
Zane.
That's nice. I think we add more meat.
Willa has spoken. We're going to add more meat.
Because that's lovely.
Yeah, it is. We're going to add more meat to our meatballs to get the salt quotient just right. Should we just make up the...
Yeah, I think just
bigger
maybe...
amount?
Just that much is probably good. Cooking on the fly.
So, well, it's all about taste. And this is one of the reasons why I don't follow recipes.
Oh.
Because recipes don't necessarily tell you what.
Oh, they were asking what, like, we just said it tasted good, and that's not a good enough descriptor.
Right.
What it tastes like. It's a little bit sweet.
The fricassee?
The fricassee.
So I got a zinginess from the hot sauce.
The hot sauce
that
had
came
like
through.
a lovely mild heat note. Yeah, and it was like a salty, sweet, tomatoey taste to it.
I think that the chicken and the beef will take some time to imbue their flavors into the broth.
For sure.
The way we're going to do this is to take meatballs that are about the size, about that size, about 1 inch, and we're going to simmer them in the fricassee itself. And so the meatballs will actually change the flavor quite a bit of the fricassee. And the reason that Will and I were just tasting the fricassee too was that if it tasted very undersalted, that we could be confident that some of the over-salting that Willa thinks, I'm just kidding, that if we hit the meatballs with too much salt to begin with, that they would expel some of their salt into the broth. But it does. And I think the sweetness of the ketchup you can taste in the fricassee for sure. But the subtler flavors, the meaty flavors, thank you, of the chicken, the meatballs, the bay leaf, those are going to take a little bit of time, I think, to register in the
Very true.
in the fricassee itself. And so it will change over time. We may have to add more water or stock, I should say, to the broth to the fricassee. Again, we added chicken cubes, chicken ice cubes, chicken broth ice cubes.
Yeah.
If you have water, use water. There's no.
There's nothing. I mean, the nice thing about using a little bit of chicken stock is you just get, because the chicken's not going to give us a ton of flavor, because it's already been cooked. We cooked it down to get our schmaltz. It's just not going to have as much chickeny flavor. So having the stock gives us the option of a bit more of that.
Right. And you saw us take one of the meatballs, cook it up on the side in a frying pan so we could get a sense of the flavor. We adjusted the flavor because it needed more salt. We added both kosher salt and Worcestershire sauce because Worcestershire sauce is quite salty. You know that sardines are what make up the
Really?
saltiness of Worcestershire sauce.
I had no idea. That's true.
It's like a fish sauce.
I had no. So it's like a British fish sauce.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I think tamarind as well is one of the
I
seasonings.
love tamarind.
So do I.
It's a great flavor. Okay, so
So-
we have a bunch of.
If it's coming to a simmer,
It is starting to simmer here.
so I think we can add some of these meatballs.
Great. Okay.
So again, simmering meatballs. There are a number of different ways to cook meatballs. You could cook them in the oven. You could bake them if you wanted to.
Is there a special way to add them, or do I just?
You just want to make sure that you don't plop it in so that it splashes up and hits you. The liquid in the fricassee, and also remember how many you put in, so you'll have to fish out. 4, because I put in 4.
So you need to fish them out.
Well, I just don't think that we have enough room in there for. But if we do, then we just leave them in, and then they're in, and then we're done.
Now, if we were going to go freeze this,
Freeze the fricassee.
fricassee,
Yeah, my mother always makes hers in advance, and then ends up freezing it in batches. Also, so many of my cousins ask her for leftovers. They like to take it home, of course, and enjoy it. My mother's fricassee is quite famous, justifiably.
I've lost count.
Well, you can see how we'll have room for this batch of meatballs.
For sure.
But as you saw, we have the same amount in the fridge.
Yeah.
So my idea was that we would simmer all of our meatballs in this fricassee,
I love it.
and that would impart all of the meaty flavor from the meatballs into the fricassee itself.
When we freeze it, do we need to take out the chicken or the meatballs, or do we just put everything together in the freezer?
It could freeze just fine with the meatballs in it. There's no reason why we would have to take the meatballs out necessarily. Is that enough for
I think we're probably reaching meatball
capacity?
capacity.
So we still have this amount of meat left, and
That's probably close to the amount of meat that we just added to balance the saltiness.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
and so these will take a good 10 or 15 minutes each to cook. We'll take them out. We'll put them on a plate to cool.
Mm-hmm.
We'll simmer up some more meatballs in the sauce. We'll taste it as we go because we're good cooks and we like to taste things. Again, if you're in the Tofino, Ucluelet, Pittsett, Howsett area, you want to have a nice Passover meal with us on April the 9th. You'll go to, I'm sure we'll have it at the Kaplanskis.com website, a link to
We'll make
the
a link,
Rhino
for sure.
Coffee website, and in coordination with Dwayne Bell and his team at Rhino, we're going to do a menu takeover for Passover on April the 9th. Just have some fun with that. And when are we going to do the brisket babysitting club after this?
Brisket Babysitting Club is going to happen directly after this. We're going to stop this video. We'll do Brisket Babysitting Club, and then
So-
we'll...
Do I have to wash my hands or do I not have to? I'm kidding, I'll wash my hands.
Wow. Wow. So I'm
I
gonna
think
move.
it's a good place to wrap.
I think so. I'm gonna just move over and I'm gonna show everyone what our
Fricassee
fricazee is looking like.
So a nice little simmer. I would actually turn down the heat at this stage slightly. So when you add all that meat, all the raw meat, it's going to lower the temperature. It's now coming back up to temperature, and we don't want it to be spluttering and so on all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
We can partially cover, and in my mother's house, having a pan like this, you've got some room for the steam to escape. We're going to make sure that it's not on too high of a temperature, so we'll be able to manage it and monitor it, and giving it a good stir from the bottom every once in a while in order to make sure nothing is sticking. Don't burn the fricassee.
Okay, awesome. I think we're good. So
I think we're great. This is one of my all-time favorite recipes. I'm so happy to share it with you. This is my riff, Willa and my riff on Elinor's fricassee recipe. This is a little ketchup, a couple cans of tomato sauce, celery, onions, garlic, bay leaf, Worcestershire sauce, Ian Riddick's ridiculous hot sauce from the Heartwood kitchen in Ucluelet, and now we're simmering our meatballs in it. We're going to continue to do this throughout the process. We'll check back in with you soon at the Brisket Babysitting Club.